36 Seconds is a series produced by Black Heart Association based on the fact that every 36 seconds someone dies from heart disease. This series aims to highlight the devastating effects heart disease and stroke have on the Black family. Listen in to these stories of love, loss, and survival.
Uh, Shanta Collette. So Shanta is probably the most driven, ambitious person I know. And she is, I mean, her whole goal in life is to make sure that she leaves a legacy and provides for her children. And so, even through anything that she's gone through, ups, downs, health wise, whatever, she still is not willing to let any of that stop her. And her main objective, her main purpose, is to leave a foundation for her children. And so, um, that's probably the best attribute she has, and that's like the best thing you could ever love about a person is that their unwillingness to be unselfish. It's she's one of the most giving, kind-hearted people I know, and it's never about her. And so people, she's constantly on the phone. People are constantly reaching out to her. She's constantly giving. She's constantly trying to dip into this and dab into that. She's all over the place. But that, to me, just reaffirms every day, the goodness and the bigness of her heart. So Shanta, in a sense, is if I could just, I don't even know if I could just describe her in such a short amount of time. We've been together over 20 years, and so I've seen, it's a marriage. So you have this in a marriage. You have your good days, you have your bad days, and that's the journey of a marriage. But one thing about Shanta is she's consistently always been genuine. She is who she is. There's nothing fake about her. She's one of the kindest, sweetest, most gentle people you'll ever meet. And a lot of people at first just can't believe that especially someone who's been through what she's been through, you would think she'd be, more vindictive, more aggressive, more angry, and she's not. And so that's Shanta. So good, kind-hearted, awesome person is probably the best way I could describe her. We were in our late 20s. So now the exact date, you caught me by surprise with that one. So let's see, 98 we went to Vegas because we were married in Vegas, and so in 98 is when we actually did our ceremony and everything. So 98, 2001. So that many years ago. I didn't know there was going to be math involved. So anyway, we were fairly young. 20s, and so we already had one kid. How many children did we have at the time? We already had one child at the time, and then when I met Shanta already had our daughter, our oldest daughter, Naira. So we'd already had. And then a couple of years later, we had our son, and so we were pretty. So yeah, we were pretty young, and we were, we had to. It was a learning process. It was when you're young, you think you know everything. You want to still have fun, do everything, and marriage is one thing a lot of people don't get about marriage is once you become married, it's more of a partnership kind of a deal. In order for it to work and be successful, you have to give up a lot of your individual things, traits, whatever you want to call them, and you have to make those you have to fuse all of your likes, your dislikes. It has to become a partnership, or it won't work and it won't last. And so that was some of the things we had to go. Now, the great thing about me and Shanta was we had a bond before we actually got married before we even met, because we went to the same high school. We just didn't know each other because I was a couple years older, but we both grew up in Denver. So we knew some of the same people. We knew some of the same places. So that was a good. And then her parents, grandparents, they're country folk. So I was originally born in Louisiana, country boy. All of that kind of made the magic and the bonding that much easier for us. So I would say, and this is kind of off topic, but going back to being so young, getting married at such a young age, and having gone this many years into a marriage, you have to find something. You have to have common traits to make your marriage last. You have to find something that, but at the same time, you still have to have your individual thing. Like Shanta's passions aren't my passions. I'm not the nice one. I'm the mean. I have to be the mean one. Someone has to play that role. I'm the one that has to say, no, you're not spending money on that. But because she'll give everything away. So everybody has to have their defined role. So, but you learn that over the course of 20 years. In 2019, when she had her stroke, well, so she had a heart attack shortly before she had a stroke. And so at the time, we didn't know it was a heart attack until after we actually went back and did the testing, went to the cardiologist, and they told her, you had a mild heart attack. We had no idea. We just thought she was having chest pain. And so we had to deal with that. And so not a year later, she has a stroke. And so normally when you go through a situation where heart attack or stroke, there's a buildup. In most situations, it's not something that just happens all of a sudden. Most people assume it's, he just had a heart attack, he fell out. Well, there's usually underlying conditions that a lot of people, they don't go to the doctors. There's high blood pressure, there's bad dieting, there's whatever the situation. There's usually underlying conditions that you don't catch beforehand. So I actually really had to sit back and think about what would life be like without, my wife. And so, and then children. And I didn't think so much for me, because I'm more, my role in the family is I'm the provider. And so that's the role that I've taken on. I allow everybody to do what they want to do. I just figure out how it's going to get paid for. And so that's kind of the role of life. They come to me, well, I want to do this, I want to do this. I say, okay, we'll figure it out. And so with Shanta, she was always so busy, so doing so much, and always, and everybody, slow down, do this, do that. But it's her passion. You can't tell somebody that's doing their passion to slow down. And so when she actually got sick, and we actually had to, just for me personally, I actually had to sit back. I was kind of in a dilemma, which is sad to say. Most people say, well, that's your wife. You want to tell her, I want you around. I need you to stop. I need you to just be here for us. But I figured in her situation, if I would have imposed that on her, that might have made her worse, because it may have made her better health-wise. But when you kill someone's passions, in a sense, you're killing them. So it's a tough situation to be in with someone that's so driven. And so, yeah, you love them, you want them to be around, you want them to be here, you want them to be there when your kids graduate, when you have grandkids, you want them to, be here when you're 80, 90 years old together. That's the ultimate goal. But it's tough. it's a balancing act. So at the time, Shanta was working in the federal building downtown Dallas. And for some reason that particular day, I was at the tax office right off of 35. I was 5 minutes away. And so I was in there doing something with turning in some paperwork for our property taxes. And so her manager calls me on the phone and says, there's an ambulance up here. Your wife just passed out. At the time, we didn't know what was going on. She just passed out at work. It happened while she was at work. And so I said, okay, I'm on my way. Where do you guys know where the ambulance is going to take her? Because I'm probably not going to make it through the downtown traffic in time. So I assume they're going to take her to Baylor, because Baylor's, it's like, yeah, they're going to take her to Baylor. I said, okay, I'll meet them at Baylor. And so I actually got to the hospital before the ambulance. So I was there waiting, not knowing what's going on, walking back and forth. So the scary part about it is when you don't know, that's the scariest part, because you don't know. And so many things go through your mind. And in a situation where, like I said, just earlier, she had a heart attack. So I'm thinking it's another heart, because we'd been going through heart issues for maybe 2 years, chest pains. Like I said, it's always a buildup. So I'd been taking her to the emergency room for the past 2 years, off and on, probably once a month, 7-8 times a year. We'd been going to the emergency room for her having chest pains. So it was a buildup. So it was something that you think you're prepared for stuff, like, okay, well, because you talk to doctors and they tell you certain things, well, just in case, da 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 da, and you think, but then when something like that happens, because it was, I don't know, it was like a Tuesday morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, I'm at the tax office. So it's like, no matter how prepared you think you are, you're never prepared. You cannot prepare for what's going to go through. And it's from, do I need to call somebody? Do I need to, because I haven't talked to any doctors. I don't know I don't know if she's conscious. I don't know if she's in the ambulance. I can't call the ambulance. So I don't know. I'm in a hospital probably 15 minutes before she gets there in the emergency room. So I don't know what's going on. So your mind is all over the place. I don't even know if she's alive. And so, you're like, can somebody tell me something? So you go back and forth to the nurses, are they here yet? What's da 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 da? So they're like, Mr. Williams, we don't know anything. They're en route, da 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 da. As soon as we find something, da 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 da. And so it's one of the worst situations. It's almost worse than them actually telling you bad news, because you have no idea. You're completely out there. So it's indescribable to put it bluntly. There's no description for what's going on, because you'd have to experience it. You know what I mean? It's something you'd have to go through. I can't put that into words, what that emotion, what that feeling is like, the unknown. So that's, do I call my kids? Do I call her parents? Do I call my family? But what am I going to tell them? I don't know anything. So normally somebody gets it, you start calling people, but you can't call if you don't have any information yourself. I'm the husband, I don't know anything. So do I need to call my job, say I'm not coming to work today? I don't, it's just a variety of things start going through. So that's how that day went. So the ambulance gets there. Of course, they take her off for a little bit and wheel her off to her own room, and they work on her for a little bit, run a bunch of tests, and then they finally let me back there. And when they let me back there, there's still a couple nurses and a couple doctors working on her. She's hooked up all kinds of machines and stuff, of course. And so they tell me they start asking me about her history, because she's confused. She doesn't know. So they start asking me about her health history and all of that stuff. They have a lot of her records, but they don't know what I know. And so I started explaining to her about the last 2 years with the heart issues and all of that. And they said, okay. And I said, well, what's going on? What do you? And so a neurologist comes in. So once a neurologist comes in and starts talking to me, then I start something with the brain. And I'm like, okay, well, that's different. That's something new. My first thoughts are relief, because she's alive. So anything else we can deal with, because she's alive. So that's the big relief right there. So anyway, I'm good at this point because I see her lie. She sees me, she smiles. So we're good at this point in my mind because I don't know. Remember, I don't know anything else. But she smiles. She acknowledges me. She knows who I am. So I'm good. So that's for now. That's good. Okay. And so then once I actually get in there and start talking to her, I start to realize that she recognizes my face, but she didn't know who I am.
How do you feel in that?
Now that is worse than the other stuff that was going on before the ambulance, because now it's just well, here you are looking at somebody, you've been with this person over 20 years, you have children with them, you have all kinds of other relationships, personal, intimate, whatever, and they don't even know who you are. And it's not like, you're passing somebody in the mall or something, they're pretending like, oh no, yeah. This is like real confusion. Like, I don't even know who my husband is, person I've known over 20 something years. I don't know who, you know what I'm saying? So that's when the boulder hits you. So that's when the gravity of the situation, that's when it gets serious. Because that's when you realize that, so when you're dealing with a stroke victim, the brain, you initially, the boulder hits you, right? Boom. And then your mind starts racing. Well, hey, she doesn't even know who I am. And so you don't start thinking about tomorrow, the next day, the months after that. You're right there in the moment, and you're like, dang, my wife don't even know who I am. And you're thinking that's just how it's going to be. Because, the things you see on TV, the movies, when people, or even if you have relatives in your family, most people that have strokes, they don't recover. There's no, you can't fix the brain. Once the brain is damaged, you can't. And so that's the first thing, that's when that boulder hits you. Boom. She don't know what. So then you start looking at the doctors in confusion, like, because I'm thinking it was a heart thing. And so now there's neurologists I'm dealing with, and they're like, yeah, we think she had a stroke, she doesn't know her name. She didn't know anything initially. She didn't know her name. She didn't know me. She didn't know where she was. She didn't know what happened. She didn't know how she got there. It was just like a newborn baby. She couldn't walk. She could talk, but she didn't know what she was saying. So imagine, a 40-year-old woman, basically a newborn baby, but she's 40 years old. And you're sitting there looking at this, realizing that this is the same person that, has an MBA in accounting. You know what I mean? Someone with a high level of intelligence, but doesn't even know their name. And so now it's, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Because at this time, and then there's all kinds of stuff, because hospitals are really slow. They work really slow. So while you're sitting there and doctors are coming in and out, I can't help my wife. I'm not a doctor. Only thing I can do is sit there and observe. You're totally helpless. You feel helpless, as you should. And you shouldn't beat yourself up. And that took me a long time, months later, to realize that, well, dang, I should have been able to do this. And even as you talk about it now, you think, dang, maybe I should have did this, maybe. But there's nothing you can do. You're totally helpless. And so to be in a totally helpless situation with your spouse is and especially as a man, and as the provider, I'm the provider. I can't fix this. No matter how much money I got, no matter how, you know what I'm saying? It's money ain't gonna fix this. It don't matter. There ain't nothing you can't buy nothing for this. There ain't Time can't fix this. Chemicals can't fix. Nothing can. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing I can do to fix a brain. There's nothing no man can do to fix a brain. That's just the way it is. And so once that hits you, you're like, because the thing about things that hit you that you can't, there's no way to prepare for them is you never expect it to happen to you. It's always going to happen to that person over there or that person over there. And you take all the precautions in the world. You do the right things. You're a good citizen. You live a good life. You eat pretty good. You live in a great neighborhood. Your kids go to good schools. You vote, pay your taxes, have great jobs, good education. You do all the good stuff. You stay out of jail. That don't matter when your brain, ain't nothing you can do when you got a damaged brain. It's a whole new marriage now, in a sense that so when you live with a stroke survivor as the husband, well, you don't have to be the husband, but when you're the person that takes on the responsibility of caring for the stroke survivor, you have to make a decision as to what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. It comes down to a few simple things. So my role, because I am the husband, well, now I'm the husband and I'm also the caretaker. So it's a slash now, husband / caretaker. So it creates thin lines in certain situations where you have to recognize that these lines can't cross, because it creates confusion for her. And so, and what I mean by that is there's certain situations where, because you have to remember, when a person has a stroke and their brain is damaged, it's never fixed. You can't fix a brain. So it's the way it is. And so when she says certain things or does certain things and she's adamant about that and that's just the way it is, okay, well, that's the way it is. It's not upon me to correct her. It's not upon me to say you're wrong, because that doesn't help the situation, because in her mind, she's right. What I have to do is fix the situation, guide her through it, and make sure she doesn't do it again. But at the same time, I can't scold you. I can't yell at you. I can't fuss it. Whereas, in old situation, you made us. I'm like, what the hell you doing? What's wrong with you? Because you got a normal brain. So I can yell at you in that situation. So you have to be aware of, again, there's a line. And so the line, I guess the biggest difference and the most obvious part of the husband / healthcare is it's you as in my role, not for her. In my role, I have to be able to sit back and say, well, these are husband duties and these are healthcare duties, because sometimes it's tough. I'll just say it's tough. It's tough in all aspects. It's tough when her brain is messed up and she has pain, and in those times there's, as a man, there's intimacy moments, and you're like, well, I was just helping her in the shower, and I was just helping her off the toilet, and you know what I mean? It's like, there ain't nothing sexy about that. So you have to recondition how you look at things. She's walking around sometimes dazed, confused, dizzy, and you're looking at her like, I never thought about leaving, because there's not very many people in my family alive. So my mom's dead, my dad's dead, all of my grandparents. So I have a very small amount of people left on my side of the family. Well, on her side of the family, it's the total opposite. When we go to her family reunion, there's 300-400 people. I'd never seen anything like her family reunions. And so that over the years made me appreciate family more. Just seeing it, not be made me appreciate family more. And so knowing what she came from and how like my kids have seen their great great grandparents. I didn't even know my I didn't know my grandparents really. So just seeing that made me understand the value of family. And then also, I grew up in a household where I saw my dad leave my mom, and I knew how hard that was for her. And I grew up with a stepdad, and I knew how hard. And then eventually I knew that wouldn't work. So I went up, that's how I ended up in Denver with my mom's sister. And so I knew how hard it was from a child, and I know what it does to you. And that's just from a child's perspective, what it does to you as an adult. And so, but beyond that, I knew that we had been preparing for this because of the hard stuff. It always, and like I said, when I see, because we've been going to therapy for 2 years now, and I've talked to all kinds of counselors, and I've talked to all kinds of people, and I've told them the same thing: is you just have to change your marriage. And you know, it would be an easy situation if you were let's say, if you were a man that was on the fence and you were conniving kind of a man anyway. It's an easy out for you. You can do anything you want to do, because she ain't gonna remember most of the stuff anyway. You could be doggish, you could be dirty, you could, if you're that kind of person, but that defines who you are. And so you wouldn't even, for most men, you wouldn't have to leave your marriage to do a lot of the dirt if you wanted to do it, because they got a damaged brain. You could just tell them, I don't even know what you're talking about. That's just you, that's just your mind. But the hard work is staying. It's not that it would be easy for me to, I could, leave, take out my money, take off. I could put her in a facility if I wanted to. But that would be, that's the easy part. The hard work is seeing it through and making sure she's good. But I always told her that I would do that. And I've never gone back on my word with her. And I've always told, my wife comes from a family, and it's kind of I don't even know if it's a word, oxymoronic, that we go to her family reunion, there's 300-400 people there, but no one's ever taken her to therapy but me. No family members ever come over to cook her a meal but me. No one, she hasn't driven in almost 2 years. She goes, it's me. You know what I'm saying? So her mom, sister, grandma, cousins, they all live here. And nobody ever took her to therapy. So you have to understand those situations too. A lot of people are related by blood. That means absolutely nothing. So if I wasn't there, she'd be by herself. So you have to understand that as a person. I couldn't go to my children. I couldn't look at my daughters and my son and be like, dang, look what he did to our mama. They never forgive me for that. And I'm just not that kind of person. So, but it just takes a certain kind of man. I'll just leave it at that. Not every man is the man that you see. You see a lot of people out in public. That doesn't mean that way, because it's tough. It's not easy. It's not easy being a husband and a caretaker. It is definitely not easy at all. My final thoughts is we're gonna do whatever she wants to do, and there's no stopping. And on the days I'm tired, I'm not tired. And whatever she wants to do, we're gonna get up and we're gonna go do it, because we don't know. Because unfortunately, we're all living on borrowed time. But unfortunately, there's greater odds of her having another stroke, because she's already had one. And when you have one stroke or you have a heart attack, your odds are increased that you will have another one. And as you get older, they get worse. So we don't have time to worry about the last 2 years. We got to look forward and keep, like I said, whatever she wants to. all of my passions, it don't matter now. I put all that aside. My goal, my focus right now is whatever she wants to do. I don't want to get up Saturday morning and I don't come down. We're all black. Who wants to do that on a Saturday morning? But that's what she wants me to do. Then that's what we'll do, and hopefully it'll pass on to our children, and they'll see it. And one day when I'm not here and she's not here, they'll remember these times. And hopefully my son. I only ever wanted in life was a son. I'm the last Williams in my family. There's no other men in my family. So now I got a son that's a Williams to carry my name on. Hopefully he'll do the same with his wife, and it'll go on for generations, and they'll remember it was due to the kindness of their mother. So that's what we're doing. Remember who she was before the stroke. Remember the person she was before that. She's not going to be that same person. Adjust yourself to her. Don't try to make her be who she was, because she's not going to be that person. You have to be the one to adjust. But at the same time, you have to increase the love to a different level. It's going to take a little bit more. Your commitment has to be a little bit more. Your drive, everything has to be just a little bit more. It doesn't take a lot. It's going to be a little bit more. Most of your time is monopolized because even when I still have a full-time job. So even when I go to work, I still have to worry about what's happening at the house. So that's the toughest. And when she has rehab 3 times a week, I have to take off. So I don't have any vacation days. Oh, that's out the window. You have to be willing to give all that up. There's a greater sacrifice. And so that's part of what I mean by it's not about you anymore. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, she's got to go to Baylor for rehab. My job knows that I'm going to use all my vacation time to go to rehab. So I'm not going to Hawaii this year. So I know that. We're not taking, so that's got to be, it's tough. But what I have done is I give her every day, every hour of whatever she needs. On Sundays, when I know there's no homework for the kids or nothing, on Sundays, I'll either sit on my patio, smoke my cigars, drink my scotch, watch my football, and put me something on the grill, an hard wine. Or I have a buddy that lives 2 exits from me. He has the same setup, patio. We'll go smoke cigars, watch football, and I'll take those few hours for myself. But it's only on a Sunday. So I get 1 day, and that's all. And that's all I need. And so you think you would need, but that's really all that's really all you need. And so you just gotta make that sacrifice. And so it's for the greater good.